Becca.
Imagine having the first 4 years of your life blocked out from your memory because it was too painful to even remember. Being kept as a houseboy in Korea and forced to sleep on the cold hard floor, or sometimes even locked outside for the night. Then you get rescued and taken to a Buddhist monastery where they care for you and about you, but you live in solitude. And then after all that, you are brought to a foreign country, put in the hospital, and adopted by a family whose language you can't even understand. That's what my brother Jay's first 9 years of his life were like. Jay's life has had some twists and turns along the way. Some rough spots and some amazing happy ones. You're going to hear about these rough spots, especially the ones from when he was a kid. But you're also going to hear about what he has accomplished and the way he views life. While most of us will not grow up in a Buddhist monastery and move to a foreign country for life-saving medical treatment, there is much to learn from Jay. His passion for life and his work will inspire you to try and live each day of your life to the fullest. We can all learn a lot from Jay about life, humility, and never giving up hope. Not much is known about Jay's early childhood. Originally named Kim Sung-do, he was brought to a Korean family when he was about 4 or 5 years old and treated as a houseboy, which is basically a slave in a Korean country. When he was living with them, he was forced to sleep on the cold floor while the family got to sleep on the heated one. And he was also locked outside in the cold on some nights. Jay, however, does not remember most of this and has blocked it from his memory as a coping mechanism. Finally saved by an older woman whom we believe was the grandma to that same Korean family, she took pity on the young boy and brought him to the monastery. There he was cared for and protected, but his life was very isolated. Getting up at 4 in the morning to pray for 2 hours, Jay followed the life of the monks. They did not talk during meals, or very much in general, and he spent a lot of time praying. Although there was another little boy living with the monks, because there was not a whole lot of talking, he felt isolated. Jay only went to school during certain times of the year, and it was a school nurse who discovered he had a heart condition after listening to his heart and hearing a murmur. That's when the monks decided that he needed to go to the United States to get the open heart surgery he needed. There was a program back then called the Gift of Life, where doctors and hospitals would donate their time and facilities to give children life-saving procedures, then would send them back home to their country. Jay came over when he was just 9 years old, not knowing a word of English. 12 News followed Jay's journey from Korea to Arizona, where he received the life-saving surgery, and then went to Disneyland for the first time and tried a beef hot dog, something he had never had before due to the strict Buddhist diet. The monks had talked to the news reporter during this time and asked him to try and find a family for Jay, knowing that a monastery was not the place for a little boy to grow up. After his surgery, Jay turned to the Korean interpreter and asked, "What happens to me now?" When told that he would go back to live with the monks, he shook his head and said, "No, they said I'd get a family here." By this time, the Athertons and its already large adopted family had fallen in love with Jay. Without hesitation, they volunteered to be Jay's forever family by adopting him. At 9 years old, Jay had undergone open heart surgery, traveled around the world, tried a hot dog for the first time, and was now getting a forever family. Jay adjusted well and started school with the other Atherton children. However, he would work every day after school with Mrs. Crowder to help him learn English. It took him about 2 years to really learn the language, and since he hasn't spoken Korean since he moved to the U.S., he doesn't remember any of it. One day, he overheard his parents talking about what they would call him now. His 2 older brothers both had J names, Joseph and Joshua. At the time, I was learning the alphabet, and I knew Joe and Josh had their names with that began with a J, and I just kept repeating the letter J. My brother told me with a chuckle. The Athertons decided then that his name would be Jacob, and he'd go by J as a nickname. Life was good for a long time in the Atherton household. He was healthy after getting the hole in his heart fixed, and he was on the high school wrestling team for a bit and had bonded well with his siblings. But when he was 16 years old, he was diagnosed with lupus that attacked his kidney. Jay's doctor put him on chemotherapy regimen, but nothing seemed to work. Sending his records to another doctor, she put him on a heavy dose of prednisone, which is a steroid, and his lupus went into remission. She saved his life, our parents often say whenever asked about Jay's story. Because the lupus attacked his kidneys, however, he only has 10% function. But that hasn't stopped Jay from living his life to the fullest. I try to pursue life in a very direct way. I want to practice work and practice living in the way that I see it, and not as prescribed by someone else. Jay told me during our interview. After graduating high school, he went to ASU for undergrad, where he got a Bachelor of Science in Architecture and minored in Civil Engineering. Through a professor at ASU, Jay submitted his work to a well-known architect in Germany named Daniel Lubinsky. The day after he graduated ASU, Jay got onto an airplane and went to work for him in Germany for a year. Germany, he worked a lot in competition architectural designs. The company he worked for would ask him to come up with a design for a building of a certain piece of land that was for sale, submit it to the owner in hopes that they'd choose his design. They could then build the exact replica. One of his designs was for a museum in Denver, Colorado, which he won. He has also done designs for lands in Switzerland and Kuwait. After that year in Germany, he moved to California, where he then got his master's in architecture at Berkeley. After this, he went on to do his first own project, where he designed and built a house in Arizona, which he considers one of his biggest accomplishments. Jay has also done large architectural design art installment pieces for museums and cities, some of which have been right here in Arizona. But when asked about it, he humbly said, "I guess I just do, and you get recognized, but I don't see them as accomplishments." At the age of 38, Jay is a lecturer at Berkeley for the Masters of Architectural program, has his own design practice where he does large-scale art installments and works as a design consultant in a firm in Phoenix. Jay lives in California with his new wife and lovable dog, Pip. Jay's life has been tough in some spots, especially when he was young. I told you about his life as a houseboy, then about living in isolation in a Buddhist monastery, and finally about moving to the U.S. for open heart surgery and later developing lupus. I also told you about Jay's compliments and his view on life, how he lived each day to the best of his abilities. When I asked Jay what he'd like to be remembered for, he answered with, "I would like to be remembered for someone who lived their life very passionately and pursued those passions, found a way to share those passions with other people." I know that Jay's passion has touched my life and has inspired me to be the best that I can be. I hope that after this speech, we can all learn something about the will to live, going for your dreams, and having humility. Thank you.
I think that is remarkable that someone can overcome such large struggles and still rise above it and find the positive side of life and be able to have all these great experiences like being able to travel to Germany.